Thank you, Ron, once again for giving me the honor and privilege to present Raj Subramaniam, President, COO, and Director of FedEx Corporation, as a keynote speaker joining from Memphis, Tennessee. As President and COO of FedEx Corporation, Subramaniam oversees FedEx portfolio of operating companies and nearly 600,000 team members. Prior to assuming this role as the President and CEO of FedEx Corporation, Subramaniam was President and CEO of FedEx Express, the world's largest express transportation company. In this position, he oversaw the FedEx Express global network, which serves more than 220 countries and 650 airports worldwide. Subramaniam served as EVP and Chief Marketing and Communication Officer for FedEx Corporation from 2013 to 2018, overseeing all aspects of the company's global marketing and communications. After joining the marketing team in Memphis way back in 1991, he moved to Hong Kong to lead marketing activities for the Asia Pacific region. In 2003, he was promoted to be the president of FedEx Express in Canada before moving back to the US as Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communication for FedEx Services in 2006. Raj received his undergrad degree in chemical engineering from the IIT Bombay. He earned two postgraduate degrees. The first one was Master of Science in Chemical Engineering from Syracuse University and an MBA from the UT Austin. Thank you, Raj. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Witty, and thank you very much for that very kind introduction. And good morning and good afternoon and good evening to all. I'm very, very honored to be here, albeit virtually, and to speak to a lot of you folks, whether students or faculty or others, maybe as the Prime Minister called us this morning, the tribe, who are part of an institution that's played such an instrumental role, and especially during my early years. Now, if someone actually came up to me in the mid 80s in the halls of the infamous Hostel 4 at IIT Bombay or Bombay at that time. By the way, I just watched Chitchor just a couple of days ago. If you want to see about Hostel 4, you need to see that. If someone had told me that I would be speaking on this global stage, I would have told them I had a better chance of playing for the Indian cricket team. Not to mention, I would have been very disappointed that my future was not on the cricket field where you would have found me on most days at IIT. So I'd like to take this opportunity to extend a sincere thank you to my friend Vidi Bindra, President Emeritus Pan IIT USA, and for this very kind invitation to speak to you all today. As we near the end of 2020, we are closing out on a year like no other. In a matter of months, the coronavirus touched nearly every country and individual, upending life as we know it, and paving the way for long-term changes which we can just now begin to predict. And at FedEx, we witnessed firsthand how interconnected our world truly is. You know, FedEx is one of the few companies in the world that has the network and the capabilities to keep supply chains moving during this unprecedented time. You know, we serve more than 220 countries and territories, connect 99% of the global GDP, powered by more than 180,000 vehicles, 5,000 facilities, and 670 aircraft. Simply put, the size and scale of our global network has allowed us to keep the world's industrial, healthcare, and at-home supply chains moving. But perhaps most important, the most important number is 600,000. That's the nearly 600,000 team members around the world who continue to go above and beyond the call of duty. Just as quickly as the pandemic rippled through across the world, our team members leapt into action to keep goods and services flowing. These men and women have worked tirelessly to ensure the medical community has PPE, small businesses can sell online, and people can access the products they need, whether they are in Mumbai or in Montreal. I'm especially proud of the critical supplies we have delivered and the humanitarian efforts we have supported in recent months. I would need to be here all day to just detail every mission, but Witty has assured me that I'm on a tight time limit. So I will just share some highlights. We have transported more than 55 kilotons of PPE globally, including more than 2 billion masks. We have worked with the government of India and its agencies to ensure continued FedEx air operations, safety protocol, and the required access to our air crews. We have orchestrated nearly 150 charter flights to supply critical PPE, and we have transported more than 9,600 humanitarian shipments globally, including masks, sanitizer, medical shelters, boxes, food banks. The list goes on and on. But also beyond these Herculean efforts, it's the heartwarming stories of the person-to-person interactions that truly capture the essence of our people. It's the story of a group of FedEx drivers who organized a drive-by parade for a 5-year-old girl after her birthday party was canceled amid stay-at-home orders. It's the story of a courier who went out of his way to sanitize packages for an immunocompromised child. It's a story of our Express team members setting up a special weekend operation to move COVID-19 test shipments as mobile testing was set up in March. So many stories happening every single day, including today. When reflecting back at these last several months, our people are the number one reason we have been able to keep the world in motion. This is truly who we are and what we do. As we look to the future, there will surely be more instances in which our people and our networks must rise to the occasion. Perhaps none more important than the much needed recent good news with the vaccine progress. With the largest cargo fleet of airplanes, our temperature control solutions, our unparalleled technological underpinning, FedEx is uniquely positioned to handle these critical shipments. And we have been heavily involved in the planning of the global rollout of these critical distribution. In fact, just yesterday, US Vice President Mike Pence came to visit us in Memphis and thanked FedEx for our role to date. He was very impressed with not only our preparations, but also our resolve. Again, this is who we are and what we do. Now, outside of the aforementioned factors, COVID-19 has created dramatic changes within two areas FedEx knows very well: trade and supply chains. Here at FedEx, we have a front row view to the global economy moving through our network as we transport more than 17 million shipments each day. As I speak today, we are in the midst of Cyber Week, which is shaping up to be the busiest week in our company's 47-year history. Needless to say, we see and live any changes to trade patterns firsthand, and we are long-term enablers and advocates of trade. The pandemic has accelerated global supply chain trends that were already underway and demonstrating even further the interconnectivity of our world. I see FedEx as a key contributor to connecting people with possibilities around the world now and increasingly in the future. Because while government policies and geopolitical relations may change, it is increasingly clear that people will want to continue to travel and trade across borders. And the ability to do so is because of advances in technology and systems like FedEx that can seamlessly connect buyers and sellers around the world. We know that our customers see direct benefit from access to new markets, streamlined customs processes, increased international regulatory cooperation on trade issues. We also have decades of experience navigating complex and evolving global trade environments and their impact on our customers and their supply chains. Now, As we talk about global supply chain resiliency, we must also talk about diversification. But let's look at the first point first, resilience. It's easy to say resilience. And when a lot of people say resilience, they usually associate it with this notion of just in case inventory. But it's important to understand there is a cost associated with that shift from just in time to just in case inventory. And in many cases, this cost is going to be borne by the customer. And that's where systems like FedEx, which is predictable inventory systems, flying warehouses, if you will, whether at motion or at rest, and can be helpful in managing resiliency of supply chains and, and reducing cost. So now let's circle back to the second part I mentioned, diversification. Lots of companies are talking about how to diversify their supply chains. As governments adopt policies to support the strategy, it is critical to note that manufacturing policy and the logistic infrastructure are considered simultaneously. To put this in perspective, the cost of logistics in the US is roughly 8 to 9% of GDP. In emerging markets, that number is roughly double that. Streamlining logistics and removing bottlenecks is an opportunity for India, for example, and fits directly into Prime Minister Modi's plan to make in India for the world. We stand ready to connect India's manufacturing sector to the world with our sophisticated networks and systems. Now, earlier today, I touched upon the increased role of technology and data in the resilience of supply chains. And I've talked about the unparalleled network we have, our peoples, our planes, our automobiles. They make us one of the very few systems in the world that can pick up a package in any one part of the world and deposit it in another part of the world in a matter of a couple of days. That physical prowess is very well known. However, perhaps what is less well known is the technological underpinning that underlies our network. As far back as 1978, our founder Fred Smith said that the information about the package is as important as the package itself. Today, you would think, that sounds interesting, but it was very much groundbreaking when he said it more than 4 decades ago, and clearly illustrates the role innovation has played in our DNA since day one. Innovation inspired our start, and it's fueling our future. Beyond our physical infrastructure is the technology that drives our network and generates a significant amount of data. To put this in perspective, a shipment in our network gets roughly 20 to 30 scans during its journey. And with roughly 17 million packages in our system at any given time, this leads to very rich data. And more specifically, very rich data about the global supply chains. In the manufacturing ecosystems, the physical movement of goods in supply chain is equivalent to the circulatory system. In that context, the data that underpins it is the nervous system. Data and supply chain transparency will play an increasingly important role in managing inventories and logistics. Digital supply chains and real-time inventory tracking will give manufacturers and their customers digital visibility to the physical movement of goods. Here at FedEx, we're innovating with new sensor-based logistics solutions, including Fedex Surround and sensor-aware devices. These devices not only track and trace, but proactively provide information about other parameters like temperature, light, geofencing, etc. This allows our customers to monitor and intervene on critical shipments as needed. Most importantly, the vaccine distribution is a clear example of this. Said differently, it's going to be able to look at what happened to what is happening to predictive analytics about what is going to happen. As we reimagine FedEx at the intersection of physical and digital networks, we are focusing on using this data and technology to unlock stronger performance, strengthen customer relationship, and drive even greater efficiency. And now, as we continue to innovate and transform our business, core to our success is our FedEx culture that remains a differentiator and a competitive advantage. I have spent my entire professional career with FedEx, I worked in many different positions all over the world, marketing in the US or APAC or president of our Canadian region or chief marketing communications officer, or now my role as president and chief operating officer of all of FedEx. Our purpose has been clear from day one. And I know that's the case with nearly 600,000 team members around the world. And something we call the Purple Promise. And that is, I will make every FedEx experience outstanding. Having a common purpose and commitment keeps our team focused despite challenges and change. Our commitment to the Purple Promise has never been clearer than it has been this year, with our frontline teams meeting and overcoming incredibly difficult circumstances to keep supply chains, relief supplies, and economic activity moving around the world. We are now in the midst of a truly unprecedented holiday season. And while the FedEx team is hard at work delivering your online holiday purchases to your front door, we also stand ready to distribute COVID-19 vaccines around the globe. We're confident that FedEx team will deliver as we undertake some of the most important work in the history of our company. After all, like I said, this is who we are and what we do. Thank you very much, and Woody, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Raj. Thank you very much for the amazing speech. As you mentioned, you would have never expected back when you were roaming the corridors of H4 in IIT Bombay that one day you'll be heading the largest logistics and transportation company in the world. That's amazing. Hats off to you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
I'm getting some questions online from the audience. I'll just pick a couple of them and see if you can share your thought process on them. The first one is like, in this pandemic time, how your leadership has changed. All these challenges you are facing now, it's a totally different time, what you have been seeing for the last 30 years. So what is your leadership style which has changed in these times?
Well, I would tell you what, I think these times have been unprecedented. And as we see, I think what I would say is that in the last 6 months to 8 months, as we dealt with this pandemic, we have made decisions that's probably 6 or 8 years worth of decisions. As so much, the pace has increased so much in terms of making those calls in these times. And sometimes, or many times, you have to rely not on perfect information or perfect data. So what you rely on your core, you rely on what the culture of the company is. And so that's, it's been very good to see, because we're building up a very strong foundation of our culture, which is built on respect for our people. My leadership philosophy is pretty straightforward. As a leader of a group, of a department, or an organization, or thousands of folks, or however big or small you're a leader of, the first and most important thing that you're going to have is a clear vision for that future, for that organization. And right or wrong, you're going to have to build that. It's not by consensus and adding up all the pieces. You have to have a strong vision for where the company is going to go. Secondly, you need to assemble the right talent and team to execute that vision. And three is the part execute. At that point, you got to let the team go, but then your role becomes one of removing barriers to execution. And those three things have stood me in good stead over the years, and it has stood me in great stead in the last few months as we have executed on a very, very tough mission.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you very much. One interesting question has come regarding technology, data, and sensor-based logistics. We have heard recently FedEx has made some announcements in this space, including working with Microsoft, new solution that change the game for B2B shipments. Can you elaborate on this announcement, or what you're planning to do with Microsoft going forward?
Yeah, the underpinning to this conversation is really our data strategy and the amount of information and data that we already have in our system, because of the fact that we are just sitting live on the global supply chains every single day. So I've been working with Satya and Microsoft strategic manner to figure out how we take this to another level as we reimagine the future of FedEx at the intersection of physical and digital networks. And so we launched what is called Fedex Surround, which provides unparalleled visibility to our customers. It's real time, no latency, but also merges in external information, contextual information, so that the our customers are able to have first-hand information about the status of their shipment, but also then are able to do something with it in case there's a weather event or there's something else happens. We're able to predict something and take care of things before it happens. So we had a great launch with FedEx Surround. A lot of beta customers are onboarded, and now we're working on other things. We just announced recently that we have our deal with FedEx, Shop Runner, and that happened this week. And so we're excited about the open e-commerce ecosystems that we can engender with this as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Raj once again. The final question, again, there are a lot of questions coming. I can't take all the questions because of the time constraint. I'll take the last one. You mentioned regarding the FedEx culture as a differentiator. Can you expand on that? What do you really mean? How you can differentiate your services with the other companies around?
Yeah, of course. Culture is very subject near and dear to my heart. Many years ago, as a senior leaders of FedEx, we sat together. In fact, talk about had an external consultant as you normally have, and talk about culture. And then one simple question: what does FedEx mean to you? So we went around the room. That hour and a half was so powerful, and it was one of those moments. The consultants, he had never seen anything like that. It was so moving, so emotional. And so we are talking, asked ourselves this question. It's like, if a team member of a similar stature 25 years from now sat around a similar table, would they have the same conversation? And we decided that they would, if we managed culture intentionally. So we've been managing this in a very intentional manner over time. At the end of the day, a lot of people ask me, before the pandemic, I used to travel the world constantly and be different parts of the world, and I've lived and worked in different parts of the world. People always ask me how different it is to do businesses in different parts of the world. And for me, I was struck by that, because for me, it was about how similar it was. The differences were there, but of course, the similarities were even more so, and especially in the FedEx world. So for me, it was the language of FedEx was the same, even if the language of the country was different. And that came down from the point of being um, deep respect for the people, make sure that they're rewarded and recognized for the right behavior, make sure that the expectations are very clear. Once you do that, that cuts across humanity, no matter where you are in the world. And I've been just very impressed how people who have not been 1,000 miles, 5,000 miles, 2,000 miles on Memphis, but are able to live the FedEx culture anywhere in the world.
That's great, Raj. Thank you very much. So I'll request Sandy Srinivasan, President Pan IT USA, because he has a question for you. So Sandy, to you, please.
So, Raj, first of all, thank you. This was quite amazing, with all the numbers and so on, was quite fascinating. So, I've heard some great stories in the past about using the entire fleet of FedEx aircraft for the good of the United States at many points in time. Are there any plans associated with that, with the COVID kind of distribution of vaccine and stuff like that? FedEx has always been generous with his fleet. So, I was just wanting to check whether there was anything on the cards for the vaccine on COVID.
Yes, of course. I mean, as I was saying earlier, we are the prime movers of the vaccine. Just think about it. You are distributing millions and millions and millions of doses. That's going to come from few parts of the world, and it needs to go to every part of the world. And for that, you need a network, and the network is very, very important. And that's what we have. We have a global network. So if you just point to point flights won't do it. You're going to have to pick it up and distribute everywhere. And it's not just the United States, by the way, it's global. And so we are working very, very closely with the government officials, not only in the United States, but also around the world. I just got some very good news just a few minutes ago from another part of another country where we're going to distribute everywhere inside that country as well.
Wow.
It's because of the network we have. And then you underpinning that is our cold chain technology and also these new sense-aware ID solutions. It's our sensor-based technology we just recently launched, and our Fedex Surround with Microsoft that we just talked about. You put it all together, we have a package of solutions that's going to be, it's like almost we were born to do that. And that's why I said there's a sense of mission about what we're doing. This is who we are and what we do.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Raj, once again. So, Sanjeev, you were raising hand, and I think you have a question for Raj. Please, Sanjeev, our conference chair.
Rajesh, first of all, thank you very much. It's so much fun to listen to you. So question I have is a little interesting. This is the first time in the history of NIIT USA, we have largest participation of students from IIT. I personally spoke to at least 8 e-cells. So if you don't know, every single IIT today, almost all have e-cell. And these kids are doing such a phenomenal work. I can't even tell you, like unbelievable kids. So question I have for you is, you are dealing with challenges of 600,000 employees, 600 plus airports. So do you have a challenge for our next generation and our audience and another kid who's staying in your room in H4?
I think that's a very good, excellent point. You know, I think their first challenge will be to survive IIT and come out of that, and I'm sure they will all do very well. But no, I'm not at all surprised about the level of talent that's coming through the IITs. There's just every year I see that happening. In fact, sometimes I look at the JEE questions. I'm thinking, oh my God, how in the world did I ever make it through this process? So it's just unbelievable. So no, yes, I mean, look, today's world's challenges are unprecedented, and I think let me put it this way. I truly believe that the future of this world is going to be dependent on how interconnected that we are. I think when you connect people and possibilities around the world, standards of living go up across the world. When you're able to think of you're an entrepreneur and you produce something, but the market is not your village or your city or a state or the country, it's the globe. Automatically, the market's bigger, and also the world gets benefited. So what my challenge would be is, how do we make sure that the physical systems and the digital systems work together to keep that connectivity going? And there is a lot of conversations these days about the government and the regulations and trade and so on and so forth. At the other end of the spectrum are people and entrepreneurship trying to keep the world connected through technology and physical networks. That would be my challenge to the team, would be to start dreaming about how do we make that process as efficient as possible so that it is seamless to be able to access your goods and commodities physically and digitally around the world.
So bolt-on question to that, which kids has asked me, if you don't mind, I want to ask.
Yes.
Okay. So 2 questions they have asked me, specifically about FedEx, and which is interesting actually. They said, Sanjeev, how far are we that the box, you put it here and atomically it's somehow transferred there? So what is going to happen to the future of FedEx? How far are we from that? Which is very futuristic. I don't know. I grew up watching Star Wars and Star Trek someday. And second one is the drone delivery. So do you see that is going to change exactly what you're talking about, that physical and tech divide, as we start building these infrastructures, or we are far from that?
So the first one, the Beam Me Up Scotty device, that one, I would say that, it's, you have to go into entanglement and quantum to figure that one out. But I'll tell you this, if someone's going to do it, we're going to do it first. So, my bet is
that's for our audience. If you can build it, FedEx is going to buy you today.
And so that's the way into the future, I would think, but who knows? The second thing is the more, about drones. I think people get carried away a lot. Drones are, we fly so many airplanes, we know everything about drones, I can tell you that. But the minute you start to pick up something, and then fight gravity, and move something and put it down, there's a lot of cost involved. So it's the drones at scale that are going to be very important. So there are, that's coming, and that'll be, we are very much in that game. But what I want to point your attention to is what we have launched is what's called FedEx Roxo. And that's autonomous vehicle. We are working with Dean Kamen. You may know Dean Kamen. Some of the IIT students might know Dean Kamen. Dean Kamen, one of the greatest inventors of our time. People know him for Segway.
Got it.
He has done a lot more than that. And so we're working together with him, and we've been put this thing, this autonomous vehicle for moving packages really targeted the same day market. And it is the most rugged device out there. It's got 10 million plus hours of testing. It can climb stairs, go through rain and snow, and it can read traffic signals and everything else. That autonomous vehicle has got more of an application right now and today. And so, but we are very much ahead of in terms of all autonomous vehicles and drones. So, anybody who is interested in working on any of the subjects, we will take you on.
We will love to know more, but thank you from my side. I can't thank you enough, and I'm sure the students will be very happy with these response. So thank you.
Thank you very much again for inviting me. Wonderful.
Raj, interest of the time, thank you very much on behalf of the IIT 2020 is still there or gone. I'd like to thank Raj. So thank you, Raj. On behalf of IIT 2020 conference team, I would like to thank you for your sharing this journey, your journey, ideas and risk-taking strategies, which will help for all of us in shaping the post-COVID era. So once again, Raj, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Going back 30 years, there was an award called Malcolm Baldrige Award.
Right.
And if you remember, there was a FedEx individual who got that award that year, that somebody had dropped off a box with a live organ in it at FedEx. And FedEx could not obviously get it on a plane because of its nature. But that one employee, he himself drove like 300 miles to drop that. And in that recognition, he got the Malcolm Baldrige Award.
Wow.
And that's how I forget 91, 92.
Yeah, we got the Malcolm Baldrige Award in 91. And honestly, the award was given to FedEx as a company because of the systems that we have and the quality systems, which actually underpins everything. But the story that you told and the stories like that, I can tell you 100 stories every single day, because that's the purple promise I was talking about. So one of these days, Ron, I will regale you with many such stories.
I wanted to just thank all the audience. Please stay on. We have phenomenal agenda for you. Ron has put together an amazing program. Stay on, watch the show, do social media posting. I want to know, everybody wants to know, what are you doing? Viti, back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you very much. So thank you, Ron. Thank you, Sandy, for making this session a great session. So I will now go and in the track 3, then the technology session, where I'll be moderating with the Dr. Rohini Srivastava, National Technology Officer from Microsoft India.